always say to men, be proactive when you've got an issue, a small issue, instead of reactive when you've got a problem. For me, I'll go into my journey into men's mental health, what I think some of the biggest issues are, and some of the barriers are why men don't open up, and then I'll just go into, towards the end, what more we can all do to help with mental mental health, the crisis that we're going through at this moment in time. So, my journey, I'd probably say it really started, I've always had a great family network, mum and dad, wider family as well. Always had a great friendship group as well. But I went through a pretty traumatic experience at uni that very, very few people know about. And I met a girl at the time, just before that had happened, and she was there for me through that, and it was like the perfect girl. We were always on and off, we were dating each other. I was struggling with that concept of, wanting to be Jack the Lad out all the time, enjoying myself, and then meeting this girl that I literally pretty much fell in love with. And I never wanted to, take that next step and make it too serious. I didn't know where my head was at. And then when I did, me and my friend decided to work abroad. I promised him another season after I asked him to do the season for me the year before. So it was always on and off, but there was a lot of love there. But she was there for me through that, which I always take my hat off to her. And it's always something that I express. I don't think much of it. When I look back on it now, it was an extremely traumatic situation. But I just thought, I always say, there's kids in Africa dying, there's people, you've got the Israel Hamas war at the moment, there's people dying. So I never ever really took my own feelings into consideration because there's other things that are worse off happening to other people. Anyway, so on and off, and then she dumped me. I always just thought, me being like, thinking, oh, she'll always be there, and she wasn't. And I guess my life had kind of turned upside down in a bit of a way. Like, I just finished uni, I started another season working abroad with Cliff, in Ibiza, which had the best summer ever. And then from 3 years of uni and working abroad and living a life, I was back at home. It was quite a hard transition with an OCD mother. But it was quite a hard transition, and then I took a job which was really low paid, and I hated it. And then things didn't work out with me and my ex, my first ex, should I say. And I was just in a bit of a low point. But again, I didn't really know about mental health. But I was quite brainy. I did well at uni, but I didn't really know anything about mental health. My friend offered me a prize ticket. He said, come to Ibiza, we'll make loads of money, ticket selling, blah, blah, blah. I did, we did make good money, went to Ibiza, lived the life, went to Thailand with Macca as well, lived the life, partying, everything like that, but I was still unhappy. And I was one night, and I never get emotional, I was a little bit emotional, I don't even know my diagnosis. And it's because there were so many feelings that I had about this person that I dated, and I never ever shared them with her. So there was one night towards the end of the season, I shared them with her and we gave it another go, but it just didn't work out. I think I was still too busy going abroad. I wanted to try and make it work, but I think she kind of just got to a point where it's just like, I'm not going to be in the country. This ain't going to work. Anyway, so, you know what it's like with the first person you love. It took a little while to get over it, got over it, and then George Floyd incident happened. I went to, a couple of the boys went to the same private school as me, black guy, only black guy in the group. Comments were said that I didn't agree with, and there were things that I never thought was that big of an issue. A couple of situations I dealt with, a couple of them I didn't. And there were some strong feelings that I had about that, and I never really spoke about it. And when the George Floyd incident happened, it was really good because we sat there with 4 black men and actually just got on Zoom because we couldn't see each other because it was COVID. And we spoke about a lot of the comments that were said and how we felt about it, and that really helped me. And speaking to a friend like Leslie, for example, about the way I felt about my ex and not getting any judgment or criticism and just being able to share, I really learned a lot about my own mental health and probably didn't even know that. So then I was more than happy to put my story on blast if it was going to help other men. Anyway, came back to the UK, worked in sales jobs, worked for the utility. We were in an energy crisis, my job became extremely quiet. Still getting paid, which was great, but I didn't really have much to do. None of us had anything to do. And I thought, I'm not going to just sit on my bum and do nothing, I'm going to do something. I did psychology at uni, I started coaching, I thought I was going to have a business, I wanted to give back. I noticed how many men were struggling in issues, in areas that I thought, I knew a bit about. Fitness, always been to the gym, dating, I've been on a few dates. Career. So I thought, okay, this is something where I can actually have a very positive influence and just share some of my own experiences. And then, we've already spoken about the suicide rate enough today, but I saw, the high suicide rate in men. And I looked at the 2 reasons why men don't open up. And the first one was lack of communication. And that's, again, because as Dr. Moody shared, the stigma is men, we just don't open up. However, it goes a little bit deeper, and I'll explain why. However, we've got resources. We've now got things like Talk Club, we've got sports groups where you can do this. So that's a nice solution. However, the one that I don't think enough people really talk about, and I think it's because it's uncomfortable, and we have to be really honest with ourselves, is societal pressure. Now, there's expectations that men and women place upon men, right? A lot of women don't want to date somebody that earns less than them. They want to date someone that earns the same as them or more, especially for a long-term relationship, which is completely fine. However, men have really started to fall off in the education system. Not as many men are going to university anymore. Women actually out-attend men. Some universities 70 to 30, and university is one of the best ways of making sure you have a good, stable income. So now you've actually got women that don't have a baby, out earning men in their 20s, they still have the expectation that, I'm not settling for less. I want a man that earns the same as me or more. I want a man that, you hear sometimes 100k, some women are a lot more realistic. That's what you see online. But we have this expectation on men, and it comes from both sides. It's not just the men that have this expectation. And men, we have it in us as well. We want to be that provider. We want to be the protector. We want to be the provider. But we have to understand that we are in modern times. And times have changed, but the expectations haven't. Now, why do we have these expectations? It's what we've grown up with. It's what we see in our parents' generation. It's what we see in our grandparents' generation. It's what we see in movies. The big, strong alpha male said today. It's what we've seen in the prehistoric ages. Men taking advantage of their strengths, being physically bigger, providing, protecting. Women being way better nurturers, more emotionally intelligent, taking advantage of their strengths in nurturing and staying at home with the family. So that's pretty much woven into our DNA. We can also even see it in the way that we treat kids. Still now to this day, despite we're in modern times, we treat boys and girls differently. They actually did a huge study in the US, and it showed that boys get twice as much punishment as girls for the exact same crime. And a really scary statistic was that black boys get 5 times as big of a punishment as girls of any race. And that just shows that this is woven into us. This isn't even just sexism, racism, this is just, it's woven into us. It's just what we do. It's extremely scary. But it's coming from all of us, and we don't even know that we're doing it. It's a word that I've got in my head, recency bias, I believe it's called. Relationships. Men are turning to OnlyFans. That's an all-time high. We got to talk about it. That's what my podcast is all about. We got to talk about these uncomfortable topics. Men are using porn at all-time high. Look at OnlyFans. That's blown out the roof. Sex dolls. I'm extremely scared to know what's going to happen with the Tesla robots. We made a video on that today. Hey, bestiality, it all goes on. But even like things such as fake relationships, men are turning towards video games for relationships. 1 in 3 men are sexless under 30, which is crazy because that used to be 12% in 2012. Again, these are not very nice statistics to hear, but it's true. Women have access to high status guys now. So they can message their favourite rapper on Instagram, they get to you. They can go on a date if that rapper teases that they're good looking enough. But a lot of men a lot of good men as well fall in by the wayside because maybe they don't have the looks, maybe they don't have the charm, maybe they don't have the charisma, maybe they don't have the money. But we need to be honest about these kind of topics because this is the reason why there's such a big dating discrepancy at this moment in time. And without that, I feel like a lot of men lack that ability to provide and protect their family because they haven't got one. You know, they always say that there's somebody out there for everybody, but I don't think there is for a lot of men. That's what I'm saying. It's uncomfortable to hear, but it's the truth. A lot of men are struggling in dating. Like, speak to men about dating. A lot of men are struggling, and I know women will say that we struggle as well to find the right guy. We had a good discourse in our podcast, but what I think you don't understand as well that men struggle to even put their foot in the door. So you're saying, you know, after I've dated this guy for 3 months, he was awful. Men are struggling to even get a date. It takes the average man 1,000 swipes on Tinder. The average man. 1,000 swipes on Insta to get 1 date. So yeah, needs to be said. There's a high correlation between a man and his older years losing his job and depression and suicides. And again, I think it just goes back to that self-worth. I think when a man maybe loses his job, isn't as financially stable at an older age, that can have big effects. But again, you just need to find that right resource, the right people to sit there and talk about it. Because trust me, when you talk about things, you feel a lot better. That's why, with Talk Club, it's an open space. It's 100% confidential, there's no interruptions. And again, as I said at the start, the whole goal is to improve our mental fitness. Whether it's Talk Club, whether it's coaching, whether it's just talking to the right friend, make sure it's somebody that is dedicated to improving your mental well-being. Not somebody that doesn't have the time, because they're not going to listen to you. Make sure it's somebody that actually has the time to focus on what you're saying and listens to understand as opposed to listen to respond to what they want to say. And I just want to leave you with this, that opening up is a strength, it's not a weakness. Honestly, like, I've become so much of a better person since I started opening up over the last five years. And you know, I'm not trying to tell men, and this is where I have a bit of a different approach to some coaches, I'm not trying to feminize them, right? I'm not trying to say, you need to be crying every single day. You need to just talk to everybody. The first person that you date, you need to tell them your whole life story. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying, maybe it takes some investment. Maybe it takes that right person. Maybe it takes a talk group where it's just complete strangers. But find the right avenue to talk about it. Because if not, you'll suppress the issue and it will turn into self-sabotage behaviours. I find it myself, you end up binge drinking. For other men, it could be violence. Whatever it may be, it will come out in a very, very ugly way. So prevent that. Be proactive, not reactive. And men, men, women, I want you to spread this message to everybody that you know. That's what I want you guys to leave here with today. And I think you already touched on this as well, that, as I said, opening up has made me a much better man. It's only made me stronger, it's only made me fitter, it's only made me more business, it's only made me more successful, it's only made the relationships that I've had way stronger as I've got older. It's going to benefit women, because you're going to have better men. It's going to benefit children, because they're going to have better uncles, better dads, which is huge. And it's going to benefit men as well, because you're going to have better friends. Friends that don't just don't think that masculinity is just, gym, trying to be as buff as possible, but actually having some of these deep chats about their family, about what they're going through. It's better, as Jermaine said, for society as a whole, the more open that men are. Stay being men, there's nothing wrong with being masculine, but talk about your issues.
Can I just say one thing about suicide?
Yeah.
I do a lot of training with the Ollie Foundation, which stands for One Life Lost Is Enough. One of the courses that we do is looking into the history of suicide. Talking about men, when you get to that crisis point, and it's not just mental health, suicide is a crisis point. You got to that point where you want the thing to stop, and whatever that thing is for you, it could be minor to someone else, but it is a big thing to you. Men, when they get up to that certain age, the way that a man's mind will work and it's different to the woman. A woman will then think of the family, the woman will then think of the individual little things. The man is the breadwinner, obviously, sometimes, and he's the one that everyone goes to. Unfortunately, there is a thing in there that men will take their life because it's the only option that they can see to sort the problem. If it's something to do with debt, if it's something to do with what's happened at the home, he's the one that's got the bigger life insurance. He's the one that everything is then been under his name. In his mind, he has got to that point